Welcome along to the Punter, the show that keeps you up to date with all the betting markets across the sporting calendar. On today's show, we'll be taking a look forward to the sixth day of Olympic action at London 2012. We'll also talk Premier League football with all the latest prices. We'll be talking cricket as well, the second test between England and South Africa. We'll also squeeze in some horse racing from Goodwood. Fantastic day, Olympics-wise, for Team GB, of course. Bradley Wiggins securing gold in the time trial. And for the women's pairs at Eton Dorney also came first. Fantastic day for the girls when it comes to the rowing. When it came to the football last night in the women's tournament, it was also a fantastic night with Team GB getting the better of Brazil, something that our very own Bet Butler did not predict.
What do you make of this GB versus Brazil, Butler?
Well, you know what? I think it's going to be a really big game. I think it's a very important match. I disagree with you boys in the studio. I'll tell you why I think it is. I think the winners want to top the group because they avoid the reigning world champions, Japan. Because if you finish right up this group, you play the Japanese. If you win the group, you play one of the third-place teams. So I think it's a big, big game. The only thing I'm trying to think about is 75,000 people going there today. As we've seen about teams at GB, they're already bringing the excuses out saying, oh, we're not used to the crowds, we're not used to the crowds. 75,000 people watching women's football. Has the world gone mental? I mean, if you look at the attendance for the FA Cup final here, the last FA Cup final, Birmingham against Chelsea, 8,723, and now 75,000 of you lunatics want to pay 55 quid to watch that. I don't know what the world's coming to.
Butler, come on,
Olympic crazy,
no, I've got to
mate.
stop you. I'm going to stop you there. This is outrageous. This is the Olympic Games. You're talking about women's club football. This is the Olympic Games.
No.
This is the home nations.
Mate, the thing is, 75,000 people, it will be quite intimidating. It'll be housewives from Surbiton and under 12-year-olds. So I don't think it's going to be really worrying Brazil here at even money, who are silver medalists in the last Olympic Games. I mean, Team GB, 49-20, around about 5-2, that kind of price if you write your fractions. These are obviously Unibet's prices. That's a decent price for Team GB. And if you think 75,000 people are going to have a bet on it, say everyone had a tenner, you've got liabilities on it. But as I say, the under-7s, under-8s aren't allowed to bet, so that rules out 76,950 of them. So, I mean, you've got the Brazilians here at 47-20. I don't think a draw's a good result for either team. They've got to go and win it. GB have got to take the game to them, and that means, for me, Brazil win the game. Even money, I think this is a great bet from Unibet here. A good price, even money. I tell you why they win it, because they play this kind of football all the time. They're used to the big crowds. They raise the game at the big occasion, and that is where this whole Olympics theme is going with Team GB. We aren't raising our game at the big occasions, and we can't look up the expectation. And tonight, in front of this kind of crowd, there's only one winner for me. Brazil here at even money show their true class, and that could turn out to be an absolute knocker of a bet, even money. There.
That was the rant from the butler. He fancied Brazil, didn't fancy Team GB at all, and then a personal and private wager was struck.
If GB beat Brazil, you ought to present tomorrow's punter wearing a skirt. Is that a bet?
Not a problem, mate. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. A bet's a bet. So what you got to do? You know, I never say you don't honour your bets. You got to bet on your bet. You know what I mean? I've had it on for a few minutes now. I'm getting quite used to it. I think it quite suits me. You know, I didn't like it at first, but you know, a bet's a bet, and you got to do it. You know, I'm getting quite used to this. You know, that's the forfeit you got to do. I don't know why I said it though. Me and my big mouth agreeing to that. I should never agree to it. But like I say, you got to honour your bets, and this is the forfeit you got to pay. So I might be doing that in a hurry though, boys. But Trev, well done. You got one on me there. 1-0 to you. We'll have one for you. Don't worry about when that triathlete gets beat. But a bet's a bet.
Butler.
Yep.
Team GB were impressive against Brazil. Obviously, they've tumbled in the fractions when it comes to actually winning the tournament. What are you going to do if they actually strike gold in this event?
I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to open my mouth at all anymore. I'm not going to make any forfeits. I just want them to do really, really well. And all those people who watched it yesterday and paid all that money, they saw a fantastic game of football. I'm not going to say anything. I mean, I still don't think they'll win it, but I'm not going to make any more forfeits. Enough's enough. I mean, you don't want to see these again, do you? Surely you don't want to see them again. No thanks. No more forfeits. But a bet's a bet, and you've got to do what you've got to do, haven't you?
Last thing, what size is it?
Oh, what I'll be telling. I mean, it's due in about 2 or 3 months. I will say. I mean, it's on its way. I think it's a very flattering 14. But the only good thing I say, it's the missus's birthday next week, so I've already sorted out a present. That's lovely. That saves me a few quid. Lovely. That's the only good thing about it.
That's Nigel Seeley, the Bet Butler. What a fantastic sport. He struck the bet with Trevor yesterday, and true to his word, he will present maybe all of the show. We'll soon find out in a skirt. I'm pleased to say that Joe Creeley of William Hill is joining me in the studio. Joe, it has been a fantastic day for Team GB, as alluded to before. We had Bradley Wiggins, of course, scoring at odds-on, admittedly, but also the women's pairs at Eton Dorney as well. Two short-price favourites, but well-backed favourites. Yeah,
Wiggins 2-5. He's been well-backed since the Tour de France, really. He went off at 2-5, and the women's pair, they were 1-3 overnight. They were backed all the way into 1-6 before the race actually started. It
was a fantastic day for Team GB, but I think everyone had been predicting this because it's been a relatively slow start. But when you look at the medals and where they potentially were going to come from, I think we've probably only missed out on Mark Cavendish, haven't we, so far?
Yeah, that's right. Cavendish, he was the big odds-on shot before the Olympics started for this first week. And, I mean, he was unfortunate. Team GB have moaned about the fact that nobody else helped them out. But he didn't get to the line first. He missed out, and but, I mean, in terms of GB athletes, a very good day today indeed.
Have punters been picking up on this? I mean, we talked about short prices, but Bradley Wiggins will have been popular, I guess. Less so the women's pair, or did you see plenty of money for them?
We did. After they won so emphatically in their heats, and they did so again in the semi-finals, they were incredibly well backed. Like I say, in from 1-3 all the way into 1-6 about an hour before the race actually started. So they were well backed. I mean, we weren't expecting rowing to be one of our big turnover sports, but traditionally it's one of our top sports at the Olympics, and so people have been really wading in with their patriotic punts.
Yeah, plenty of gold medals as well up for grabs on the sixth day when it comes to the action at Eton Dorney. We're going to rattle through one or two markets where we hope there's going to be some GB success. First of all, Joe, we've got the men's lightweight fours.
Yeah, an incredibly steady boat. They've been together for a couple of years now. You've got a bit of power going through the middle with Rich and Pete Chambers, two brothers there, who will really steady the boat in the middle. They know each other really well, obviously, having grown up together. And a really good tempo set by Chris Bartley at the front as well. And we're 4-5 that they make it through. They won so convincingly in their first race, and they eased to victory in the semi-final as well. So we can't see any other winners there.
I was going to say, is this a sort of bet you mentioned just slight odds on? By the time the action gets underway tomorrow morning, will we see that price shorten up, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a shade under evens at the moment, so it's still a really good price. And the fact that Australia are 4-1 second favourites, there's a big gap between GB and Australia there, and I can really see that price coming in quite a bit tomorrow.
Well, let's see if we can get some prices from the Bet Butler when it comes to the action from Eton Dorney. We will get some prices very shortly indeed. I think the Bet Butler's with us now. Nigel.
Yeah, I was just altering the skirt there. Sorry, boys. I was just making sure that it was a bit fitting. I know you were coming to me. I wanted to get the old belt right. Anyway, I'll tell you what, I think you're absolutely right. I think there'll be a massive gamble on this GB team. I think the punters will go absolutely crazy for rowing. And it shows you as a nation what we are as a nation. The only sports we do well in, ones we're sitting down on our backsides. I mean, we win the rowing, we win the cycling. And I think the punters will come for this 4-5. You saw what happened today. The girls went from 1-3 into 1-6 favourites. I think that will be a similar trend tomorrow. There'll be money coming. This 4-5 of William Hills, I don't think that's going to last. Again, it gets to the point where, for me, I don't want to be anti-gridded. I don't want to be anti-patriotic. So I want us to do really, really well. I genuinely do. But it becomes a price where you have to turn around and say, that's no value. And I think at 4-5, yeah, it looks a little bit tempting. But how short can they go? I think they can go down to about 1-2. And then it brings in some others here. I think Denmark are the danger here, 5-1. Not really renowned for their rowing prowess, I mean, the Danes. But this team is quite solid. What they've done in the heats, they look very, very comfortable, and they haven't really gone at it as much as the GB. The GB times have been a lot better. But I think there'll be a huge patriotic money here for 4-5 on the back of what we've seen today. And I think, personally, GB will, again, all these hot pots will get backed in. And I just think, as a bookmaker, you're laying such fantastic value. William Hills are sitting there going, yeah, no problem, 4-5, keep coming, 2-on-2. But I don't. You've got to, if you're backing odds on, you've got to get 2 out of 3 right every time. And I think there has to be a top bar point where these get too short. At the moment, the 4-5 is tempting, but this is going to go one way. It's going to go down, and I think they'll be around about 1-2 tomorrow, come the time of the race, and then they're probably not so much value. But get on early if you think the GB fancy it. But I'm not going to make any more promises on how well they're going to do or how badly they're going to do. I'm just going to say get on this because it's going to be shorter time the race starts.
4 to 5 about Team GB to score in the men's lightweight fours. Let's move on to the men's double scull here, because Team GB are not the favourites for this one, Charles.
No, they're not. They're third favourites, joint third favourites actually, at 6 to 1. They finished third in their semi-final, but don't let that fool you. They were in the tougher of the two races. They got a bronze in the World Championships last year, and I think a bronze is the best we can hope for in this race, with a couple of really, really decent teams. New Zealand, for example, 4 to 6. I can't see them losing.
Yeah, New Zealand are the odds-on favourites at the moment. I guess you're going to maybe find that punters will have a bit of an acca here. They'll take all the short ones, and it could be one where we go into maybe one of the last rows of the day that you could have some decent liabilities.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we will be cheering on the British boat tomorrow in this particular race. Maybe not so much the lightweight fours with them huge favourites, but I mean, people will go for GB at 4 to 5. They will go for New Zealand at 4 to 6, and so anybody to beat them, even Argentina 7 to 2, second favourites. We will hope that New Zealand go off too fast.
Let's get the top of the market. Here's the butler.
Yeah, again, I mean, New Zealand here are 4 to 6. I think they should be short on this. Again, I think this is if Great Britain weren't in this event, and William Hills and all the other bookmakers didn't expect the patriotic money, I think New Zealand would be around about a 2 to 1 on-shot. And if you look at these sports, the favourites now are really, really doing well, because they don't know how short to price them up. You know, in what they show in the heats, they're replicating it in the big races. New Zealand beat Great Britain quite comfortably in the heats. New Zealand at 4 to 6 represent fantastic value. What will happen here? The money will come from New Zealand. They'll shorten and shorten because of accumulators, put them in doubles with the GB in the other race. The patriotic money will come for Great Britain, and perhaps the Argentinians could come some kind of value around about 7 to 2. That price could go bigger at 4 and 9s. You can really rule out the other three. This is a race for the gold medal between New Zealand and Argentina. I think we're nailed on for third here if we're lucky. I think we've got the beat of the Slovenians, but I believe New Zealand will go shorter, and I think the value potentially could be on Argentina, because patriotic money against favourites running on money, and I think Argentina could sneak through and represent some decent value if they get to around about 4 to 1.
Let's take a general look at the rowing tomorrow in terms of how many gold medals we think that Team G might get. Potentially, we could have a good day, but there's also that chance that we could strike unlucky. Joe?
That's right. We've got 3 finals tomorrow. We've got the women at 40 to 1. We're not expecting them to do much. Maybe squeak a bronze is the best that we can hope for. But we obviously do have the favourites in the men's double sculls, and we're 4 to 6 odds on for just that 1 gold medal there.
Joe, Butler, how do we price it up?
Yeah, I'm quite interested here. I think there's a little bit of value here. I think the 1 gold medal at 4 to 6 isn't no value whatsoever. I think you're just better off to back them in the men's lightweight fours at the 4 to 5. I mean, that is realistically where they're going to get the gold medal. I mean, 1 is 4 to 5 in that market, and 1 here is 4 to 6. So I just think you just want to bet them individually in the match, in the race, rather than take the 1 here. So that would be my pill of advice here. None at 6 to 4 is a runner. We could see them implode in that final. But I don't think what you've seen today, we've set the precedent. I think the pressure's on to get the first gold medal. Once it comes, the others will follow. 2 or more, no, not for me here. But I think the 1 at 1's at 4 to 6 is not really the value. I just think you just stick to the race and have your money on the race, because if it's 2 or more, you get paid in as well. So just stick to the race, me. I think this is a good little value market, but I think the value from William Hill punters is better off for them individually to back them to win the race at 4 to 5.
Slightly different is total medals on the day when it comes to the rowing. You mentioned that we might be able to squeeze a bronze in one of the other events.
Yeah, well, hopefully we could squeeze 2 bronzes or even a couple of silvers. But we're going 13 to 2 for all 3 GB crews to bring home a medal each. 10 to 11 for 2. Obviously, that represents the 6 to 1 for the double sculls, and the 4 to 5 for the fours, and 5 to 4 for 1 or fewer. So that's obviously 1 or none.
Butler, how do you see it?
Yeah, no surprise. I mean, again, the favourite is odds on here, 10 to 11. What we've seen from the bookmakers there, we're saying that in the first race, we think they will definitely get a medal. They're 4 to 5 to win it. They'll be about 50 on to get a medal. In the other one, we're saying it's a match between the bronzes. So I think it could possibly be a value go for the 1 or fewer. But again, I'm putting all my bets individually on us just to win the men's lightweight fours. I think these are great markets. They're great for the betting shop punters of William Hill coming out there. But if you're looking for a bit of value, just stick for us at 4 to 5 to win the lightweight fours. And I think it's probably better value to do that, because we can have the 1, we can just back the 4 to 5 winner and cheer on the others without worrying about where we're going to have to perm our bets here. But for me, 4 to 5 straight away. And if I was going to have a little bit, maybe just the 1 or fewer at 5 to 4.
Many thanks to the Bet Butler. We've got more Olympic chat to come. We'll be delving into the cycling. We're going to be talking Premier League football as well a little bit later on in the show, plus horse racing and cricket. Much more to come on the Punter. Don't go away. Welcome back to the Punter as we talk Olympic Games. Day 6 previews coming your way and plenty of different sports to take a look at. I'm pleased to say that Joe Crilly of William Hill is still with me in the studio. Joe, we're going to tackle gymnastics next. Now, better you than me, that's for certain. And the market we're going to delve into here is the women's all-round.
Well, if I knew you were going to ask me that, I don't think I would still be here. But I'm going to leave most of the pronunciations to the butler here. We've got a couple of Russians, and we've also got a couple of Americans, quite bizarrely, with Russian names at the top of the market. The girl I'm going to focus on is our girl, Hannah Whelan, 80-1. Don't see much hope for her in the all-round gymnastics there.
We've seen plenty of interest, of course, with the men's gymnastics. They did phenomenally well in the team event. Is it something that the punters are warming to? Because generally no one's going to go near a market like this.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, gymnastics is a hugely popular sport in the UK. There's so many people who take part in it, and there's always going to be a little bit of interest in those niche markets with people who partake in the sports. And it has been quite popular, I have to say, and it can only get more popular on the back of the bronze medal that the boys won the other night.
Let's get a little bit of expert opinion on this one. The Butler's got all the info when it comes to the all-round gymnastics for women. Butler.
Yeah, I'll be absolutely following this one here. As you can see, look, I'm in the right position to follow it here, looking at the old ladies here. Lovely stuff there. Anyway, the thing is here, you've got what I saw in the team event yesterday. The Americans won the team event, absolutely superb, but the Russians looked like pipping them. And then what they did is the last floor show, they made a huge error. The girl Mastafina, she went for a triple axel, whatever they're called, and she almost fell over onto her face. But she was absolutely awesome. Her floor display was absolutely fantastic. And I think if she can replicate that kind of form, she can offer some threat to the favourite here. I really, really do. I mean, on the betting itself, Komova, the American, she is the favourite at 7-4. Now, I think she is a favourite worth taking on. I strongly believe she's far too short. I think she's a Russian actually. Sorry, 7-4. I think if you look at the Americans who were so dominant in the team event, you've got a girl called Gabby Douglas, who's 2-1 shot, who was brilliant on that display. If she can tie some form there, she's a great bet at 2-1. And I think this Mastafina, I think she was absolutely superb. And then she just failed right at the end, and the sentimental support will be for her to come back with a bang. And I think she's got the potential to do it. Here she's an 8-1 shot. I think I'm not quite sure if William Hill's are betting each way on here or to get a medal, but I think this Mastafina here at 8-1. As you can see, I used to be a bit of a gymnast myself here, but this Mastafina here at 8-1, she's a fantastic bet to get a medal. But I want to take this favourite on here. We'll come over at 7-4, and I want to go with Douglas at 2-1. I'm going with the Americans to upset the Russian market leader. But any Russian, I think here, she could be the dark horse Mastafina, because apart from a slip right at the end of her floor show yesterday, she looked nailed on to get the Russians into the gold medal position.
How difficult or otherwise have your odds compilers found it to price up things like this? Because even the last Olympics, I'm not quite sure if odds compilers were pricing up the women's gymnastics all around. There might have been, I can't quite remember. But surely this is hard, this is difficult, isn't it?
Well, it is. I mean, this is the first time that we've bet on every single event at the Olympics. So 302 gold medals up for grabs. We're actually betting on every single one of those. And believe it or not, our rugby league compiler has been working overtime, following his gymnastics and putting the prices out. So I don't think he was too keen on that. But fair play to him, he's immersed himself in the wonderful world of ribbons and twirling, and he's done quite well.
Moving on from the gymnastics to the cycling, we've been enjoying all the action when it comes to the time trial and, of course, the road race. Women, of course, we managed to get that silver medal. We were unlucky a little bit when it came to the men's road race, but we're on the track tomorrow, and we expect, I guess, plenty of gold medals over the course of the track events because we were so dominant in Beijing. We've been dominant in the World Championships as well. This is the one where I guess you guys are fairly fearful that, again, the punters are going to look at those short price favourites when it comes to those Team GB cyclists and think we could get filled in here a little bit. Yeah,
that's right. We've got the men's team sprint first off. That's got Chris Hoy. He was obviously so fantastic in Beijing. He's 4 years older now. He's 36 years old. Whether his legs have still got it, I don't know. But he's also in there with Jason Kenny, the guy who's usurped him in the individual sprint team. And I mean, at 9-2 for the gold medal, they look quite a tasty bet there. We've obviously got them as third favourites behind Germany and France.
Let's get the top of the market. The Butler's got the news for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a changing of the guard in this cycling event here, the team event. The Germans have seemed to come to the fore in recent events. They're the ones to beat. They're 5-4 favourites for this men's team sprint. And I think they will do it. I think Great Britain obviously going to be back because of the Hoy factor. But a great point there from Joe. Chris Hoy, he is 4 years older, 36. In this event, I think it's going to take a lot out of him. I mean, I really, really do. And I think the young up-and-coming Germans are major, major threats. And the French, who are a lot younger, who have had an exceptional game so far, France. All their athletes, they look a major force and could be a force on the medal table. They're 6-4 shots. I think the Great Britain will be popular, but I really, really don't. I think it's a game's too far for Chris Hoy. I think that the medal here will definitely be going to one of these front runners, and I'm all over Germany. I think, well, you look at recent results, they are without doubt the team to beat in this and the women's.
Team GB 9-2 third favourite as it stands at the moment. Lots of specials when it comes to day 6 of the Olympics, and one that Hills have priced up is how many golds will Team G get on day 6. Obviously, we've got the rowing, we've got the cycling, gymnastics obviously a massive long shot. When it comes to how successful we could be on day 6, what do you think?
Well, we're not going overboard. We're 14-1 for us to win 4 or more gold medals tomorrow. To replicate the 2 that we won today, we're going 7-4 with the same price at 1 as well. But we've got odds-on shots in the rowing. We've got quite a good chance in the cycling, and we've also got quite a good chance in the shooting, bizarrely. So I mean, 2, 3 at 5-1. It's looking quite good.
The bet Butler's been against Team GB for much of the Olympics so far. Are we going to have a good day in your eyes, Nigel, or not?
No, totally disagree with Joe there. I'm going for 0 or 1. I think I really am. I'm sorry to be negative. I really am. But we're getting all excited. We've got 2 gold medals today. Tomorrow's going to be back to normal service resuming. Well, I think the 1 gold medal here, I think the big guys again in the men's lightweight fours will win the gold. I think they will get backed off the boards. But again, my strategy is to just back them simply and hopefully cheer on some other goals. I think no gold runners at 4-1. I actually backed no goals today at 16-1. It was all over very, very quickly too. But I think we'll get medals. Don't get me wrong, I think we'll get medals, but we won't get the right colour ones. I think gold again is going to be 0 or 1, normal service and resumed, and people will be setting British Championship records and finishing 8th.
Well, we talked about the men's team sprint. Let's just have a brief word with Joe about the women's team sprint as well, because potentially we could get a gold here. How do Hill see it?
Yeah, well, we've got GB at 2-1, again third favourites. The women's team almost outdid the men's team last time around in Beijing. And we've got Victoria Pendleton. She was obviously one of the heroes of Beijing, or should I say one of the heroines of Beijing. Again, they're third favourites. Australia 6-4, Germany 15-8. So the bronze medal again is looking like the favourite there for GB.
Do you think that maybe the cyclists are under real pressure, significant pressure, because they're at home and they, I don't want to say overachieved in Beijing because they deservedly won all those gold medals that they did, but there is a different pressure performing in front of home supporters, isn't there?
Well, yeah, they've got to live up to what they did in Beijing. People are expecting them to go out and win gold this time around, whereas 4 years ago in Beijing they perhaps weren't. And again, like you say, with the home crowd cheering them on, that can help in one way, but it can also hinder in another. It can make them nervous, it can make them jumpy, or it could make them just go that extra 2%. To get that gold medal. It could go one of either way.
That's the Olympics for now. When we come back, we're going to be talking Premier League football here on The Punter. Don't go away. Welcome back to The Punter, the show that keeps you up to date with all the sports betting action across the sporting calendar. We've been talking Olympics. We've been delving into day 6 of London 2012. Now it's time to take a look at the Premier League as we welcome back Joe Crilly of William Hill. Hill supplying all the prices that you see on screen over the course of the show today. Fascinating market as it always is, Joe, and we've seen interest in Manchester City pretty much over the course of the summer. I think punters have sort of made their mind up that City have got the best squad and they should be a little bit shorter than they once were. Tell us about the price changes.
Well, yeah, City were 11-8. They've come into 6-5 in the last few weeks. I think punters are getting wise to Manchester City if they hadn't already. Last season we had them at 4-1. Can you believe that? We had them at 4-1 and we got absolutely turned over on City. So we had them short. They are shorter. They could even be even money by the time the season starts. Punters, for the first time in Premier League history, are staying away from United 5-2. And there's been a bit of money for Chelsea as well. Obviously, Di Matteo has had this huge treasure chest, which he's probably only spent half of yet. And they're 9-2 from 5-1.
Is it a three-horse race? Can we look at Arsenal, Tottenham, Liverpool?
I mean, you can't discount Arsenal. They're always there or thereabouts. But I mean, last season just showed the gulfing class between the top two and the rest of the Premier League. At 9-1, I don't think I'll be backing them, but I'm sure there'll be a few Arsene Wenger fans and a few Arsenal fans that will be getting on board with that.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because when we look at the Premier League, everyone, I think, tries to look beyond the favourites, certainly the favourite, but the more you look at it, the more you think, well, City have had the best squad for the last 18 months or so. They won the league just last year. But if they start strongly, if they win their first 3 games to 0 and score plenty of goals with Aguero and maybe Tevez still there scoring, they're going to go odds on very quickly, aren't they?
They are indeed, and I think it was about October last year that City eventually went odds on. They were the first team to go odds on last season. I wouldn't be too sure that it will be October when they go odds on this time around. Like you say, 4 games in, 5 games in. If they start really, really well, which I'm sure they will do, they've got a relatively easy first game, and that's not to be discredited to Southampton, but I think they'll easily win that game, and that'll give them a solid platform to then build on the rest of the season, and I'm sure punters will be piling on.
Let's take a look at the prices, shall we? Butler, how do you make the market at the moment? Because City are short. They have been backed, as we heard Joe explain. Are they still value at current odds?
No, I don't think they're necessarily value, because I think you've got to find out where. I think the big headache for them, no one's really spent money apart from Chelsea. We see Manchester United haven't really gone into the transfer market yet. I still think there's some big signings to come. And I think the name Robin van Persie is the huge one. I mean, where he turns up. I think if he goes to Manchester United, which rumours are circulating possibly could happen, you will see money come to them, because him and Rooney up front will form such a formidable partnership. So I think you're waiting to see, actually, the big guns are flexing their muscles. They haven't come out and bought the signings yet. And I think the chequebook will start coming out in the next 2 or 3 days. And at the moment, Manchester City 13-10, now they're into 6-5. The money is coming for them. But I personally think that could be a little bit too short. We know they've got a good start. We know they're against Southampton. They should comfortably win that. But Manchester United at 13-5 here, and Chelsea at 5-1. We know they're spending the money. They know they've got money to spend. I personally think each way, Chelsea each way could represent good value here. I mean, last season, a lot of bookmakers got rid of the first 3. They went the quality odds to the first 2. I'm interested to hear what the each way terms are on this from Joe here. But if there are any bookies offering the first 3, I think Chelsea each way and absolutely each way not, because they cannot possibly finish below Arsenal. They can't finish below Spurs. They certainly won't finish below Liverpool and Newcastle. So I think Chelsea each way are definitely the call. And I totally agree. At the moment, there's this sort of friendless feel around Manchester United. But if they get the sign of Robin van Persie, I think the feel-good factor will come for them, and I think they will be backed again. But at the moment, Chelsea, obviously, the talent they're spending, the Hazard, they've got Oscar, they've got big money signings coming to the club. They look the team for money. Manchester City, we know, will spend. But I think Chelsea each way could represent some decent value at 5-1.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because Roberto Di Matteo obviously did a fantastic job towards the end of the season, but he was sending out teams to win cup matches, to win Champions League matches, or at least to draw Champions League matches, as was the case on a couple of occasions, and indeed the FA Cup. When it comes to winning the league, you've got to set your team up a little bit differently, haven't you? Yeah,
it's a totally different beast, because you're playing over 38 games. It's not just a one-off cup final, as most of Chelsea's games were towards the end of last season. You've got to go out and you've got to replicate the form over and over again. And despite his fantastic work last year, I'm still to be convinced by Di Matteo. He did well when his teams had their backs up against the wall, but going forward they were a little bit flaky. As the butler said, he's bought a couple of players with attacking flair, which should aid Torres and maybe even Lukaku when he finally makes it into the first team. But again, I can't really see Chelsea. They had such a big gap to close. And whether their signings will just bring them up to par or whether they're enough to push them the extra mile, I don't know.
The butler was talking about each way terms. It's usually the top 2, isn't it, when it comes to the Premier League? You've got to finish in the top 2 to get your place money. Yeah,
that's right. The each way will probably be the top 2. But we do usually, once the season starts to leer into view, we do usually bring out a market without the Manchester team, so that could even be who will finish second if a team separates those 2 teams. So Chelsea might be worth backing in that market.
Let's talk relegation. We've talked about the top end of the table, or potential top end of the table. What about at the bottom? Because in terms of the price, in terms of the market, this is much more interesting because obviously 3 teams go down. So there's 6, maybe 8, maybe 10 teams that come into the reckoning here.
Yeah, that's right. As a Bolton fan, it's a pretty sore spot for me to talk about relegation at the moment. But we have Reading new boys and Southampton new boys. Both of them are in the bottom 3, surprisingly separated by Norwich at 5-4. They had such a fantastic season last season, but there's rumours of or murmurings of discontent amongst the ranks that that Lambert was allowed to go to Aston Villa. I think Grant Holt wants to follow him out of the door. And things just, I can't see them going as swimmingly as they did last season. Wigan, they're always there or thereabouts. They're 4th favourites to go down 13-8 and then 15-8 the field. But
where's the value for those to go down? Who are your 3 that will be playing Championship football 13-14 season?
Yeah, when we were speaking about this in the last few weeks, I know myself and Chris Graham, who usually sits in and does the same for me, but without the skirt. We've both had the same view. We think West Brom down here at 9-2. We think they are absolutely tremendous value, and the reason being, Steve Clarke has not been really tested in the managerial job as before. He doesn't really, the players, there's rumours of discontent there. Simon Cox put in a transfer. Shane Long has been rumoured linked to Aston Villa. Odin Wingy's not happy. And I think it's a big, tough season to follow from Roy Hodgson there. He had a system, and I think for the first job, that is a tough place to go. And you can get 9-2 then when you've got someone like Chris Hughton here for Norwich, who's a 13-8 shot. And I think West Brom at 9-2 represent great value to go down. Personally, I think West Brom will go down. I think Norwich will go down, and I'm not quite sure the other side yet. I'm really not sure. I think Swansea will stay up because I think Michael Laudrup is a fantastic managerial position for them, and I really do think it's between Reading and Southampton, and I think we'll know within 3 games out these 2 sides which team will be accustomed to the Premier League and which team will find it a struggle. So I do think one of the newly promoted sides will go down, but I think West Brom at 9-2 could be the team here you want to be backing.
Prepared to put your trousers on it again, Butler?
No, not at all. No more then. No more silly games.
Just one other question. Are you surprised, Nigel, to see Wigan in and amongst it? Because they were brilliant back end of last season, weren't they?
They're brilliant at the back end of the season, but they're awful for the 3 quarters before. So no, I'm not surprised. The thing is about this, they always know how to get out of trouble. And that's what's got them in the, they don't ever do anything. And their last 8 games, they played superbly. Now, why that is, I don't know. I think they're pretty much of a fair weather footballing team. They like to play football. So they play good football when the pitches are better, I suppose. And when it's got boggy pitches, and at home, the JJB Stadium, their pitch is probably the worst in the Premier League. So I think that's a big factor for Wigan. I think they know how to get out of bad positions. But we said that before with teams like Charlton for years, Coventry for years, Queen's Park Rangers. But when they will be, if you're a Wigan fan, you know you're in for a tough ask, aren't you? Despite what you did in the last 6 seasons, you know if you finish 4th from bottom, you've had a good job. And I think they'll get in for another position, but if they struggle the season, but if they're within 2 or 3 points or 5 points adrift of it, they know how to do it. They know how to get out of it. But that luck can only take you so far, and eventually it will run out. And the key to them, obviously, is if there's any other managers losing their jobs, which is inevitable in the first part of the season, Roberto Martinez will be #1 candidate for them to go to another job. So the longer they can keep hold of him, they've got a chance. But if they let him go, then they'll be odds on.
Yeah, it's an interesting point about Martinez because he will be put up for every single job going, certainly, if another Premier League club decides to dispense with the services of their current manager. Let's talk top goal scorer, and we've got Hill's prices for you here, and we've got Joe Crilly of William Hill in the studio. Joe, always an interesting market. We've had some surprise winners over the last few years, but generally it's the usual suspects when it comes to the top of the market at this stage.
That's right. Van Persie, he was the top goal scorer last season. He's joint 3rd favourite at the moment, 8-1. As was mentioned earlier in the show, nobody knows where he's going to be, so I would steer clear of that bet, particularly until we know where he's going, until we know his future. At the top, unsurprisingly, we've got Aguero and Rooney, both 7-1. The 2 Manchester players, obviously 2 different sides, and then Torres 8-1 as well. He had a great Euros, but he's not really done anything for Chelsea at the moment, has he? So they're our top 4. I quite like the look of Tevez at 16-1. He only played half a season last season, and when he came back, he spearheaded City's push for the title. So that'd be my bet there, I have to say.
Let's take a look at the Hills prices. Butler, how do you see it? You were talking about Robin van Persie before. I guess if he stays at Arsenal, he might be a bit of a value bet. If he goes to City, then Roberto Mancini might rotate him. How do you see the top goal scorer market?
Or if he goes to Juventus, you've absolutely done it before a ball has been even kicked. I mean, that's the key. I mean, this is the whole thing in the market. Robin van Persie, if he stays to Manchester United, he stays at Arsenal, he's a 4-1 favourite, 7-2. And if he goes away, you've done your money. And that is what William Hills have done. And that's why he's an 8-1 shot. So if you think he's going to stay, you've got to back this 8-1. If you think there's a chance of him going to Juve, then you just dismiss it. Looking at Premier League goal scorers, you need a couple of things. The first thing you need to do is a realistic chance of winning the Premier League title. The second thing you need to do is play a lot of football, a lot of games, not the rotation. And the third thing you need to do is take penalties. They're the three key points. Robin van Persie ticks every box at Arsenal. Does he do that at Man City? Does he do it at Manchester United? I don't think so. They don't do much. You've only got to look at Manchester United's goal scoring records. When Rooney plays, he gets rested against the games where they score loads of goals, and Hernandez comes and scores them in. So for me, Aguero, 7-1. He will play every single game. He's going to get better and better. I think there was no better player in the history of the Premier League in a first season than Aguero that I've ever seen. And I think he can only get better next season, and he will play virtually every game. And I think he will score an absolute hatful. I think 7-1 Aguero is the worthy favourite. And if you're looking for an outsider, I did say somebody who was in with a chance of a Premier League title, but rule that one out. Someone who plays a lot of games and scores a lot of goals. I think Jelavic from Everton at around about 33-1 each way. I'm not quite sure what price William Hill's here, but I'd rather take him than Danny Welbeck at 20-1. I think Jelavic could be offered some decent each way value there, because you look at some names before. We've had Marcus Stewart from Ipswich who've been each way. We've had some big, Darren Bent who scored goals at Charlton and Aston Villa who framed. And I think Jelavic, he's going to play every game for Everton, and he will be there, only out there, and he could easily score 20 goals.
Yeah, only had half a season, of course, with David Moyes' side last campaign. Should be an interesting one. That's the Premier League done and dusted for now. We'll be delving into it, of course, over the course of the next few weeks up to the run-up to the start of the season. In our final part, we're going to be talking cricket, we'll be talking Glorious Goodwood, and we'll get the latest when it comes to Sports Personality of the Year. Don't go away. Welcome back to The Punter, the final part where we'll be covering cricket, also Sports Personality of the Year. But first, we're going to delve into Glorious Goodwood, one of the feature races of the day when it comes to the action at the Sussex track is the Goodwood Cup, the Artemis Goodwood Cup. Joe Clear of William Hill is with me in the studio. Always a good betting heat, this one, and it's a competitive race as well. That's right. You won't find any 1 to 20 shots in this race as we did today. And we've got Sadler's Rock 9-4 favourite. And Colour Vision 3-1. It's going to be an interesting matchup because these two horses met in the Gold Cup at Royal Ascot in June, and Colour Vision actually pipped Sadler's Rock to the victory there. But we think that Sadler's Rock is going to beat its rival in this race. And Sir Henry Cecil and Tom Quealy have had a fantastic week so far, and we think that luck may well continue. Let's take a look at the market, shall we? Certainly one of the features of the week at Glorious Goodwood. The Butler, how are we tackling this one?
Yeah, I'm quite surprised at the betting, really. I'm surprised that Sadler's Rock is the favourite with William Hills. I know they've gone 9-4, but I'm going to make a bold statement here. I'm not going to make any statements about wearing women's clothes. I'm going to make any statements about coming in with fishnet stockings or anything like that. I don't think Sadler's Rock will start favourite tomorrow. I think it will drift. I think 9-4. I think Colour Vision was absolutely very, very, very impressive against Ascot. It was huge money for it on the day. And Godolphin are in quite good form. I think Frankie Dettori on board. I think the money will come for Dettori. It always does come for Dettori. And I think Colour Vision will start. I think that could be vying for favouritism here. I think there'll be a drift on Sadler's Rock. I think the 9-4 will get bigger. I think then it'll go out to around about 11-4. I think Colour Vision will come in. And I've got a feeling that this will start favourite on the day because I just think they'll be supporting it. And it beat it last time out. It beat it. Not only did it beat it, it really quite comfortably. I mean, Colour Vision come off the pace and looked very, very impressive and could have won a bit more. Simonon's an interesting horse here. It's won his last 3 outings. Very, very impressive. That, for me, again, is a decent one. It's an Irish horse come over here. I just think the favourite is worth taking on. I think 9-4 Sadler's Rock. If I was at William Hill or if I was a bookmaker standing at the boards, down at Goodwood, Glorious Goodwood, I'll be going best price Sadler's Rock to get the money in here. It's not really, the top 3 are quite competitive. You've got Lost in a Moment at 9-1. That will have each way support. I don't think anything else here is going to come from the field. But at the moment, I just think Sadler's Rock's too short. Colour Vision, I believe it was very, very heavily backed at Ascot, and it was a huge amount of money for it, and there was money from good people. And I think it's well set up for this race, as the obvious thing was to go from Ascot to Goodwood. And I think 3-1 is a tempting price. I think that could start very much so the favourite.
Sadler's Rock a favourite to take on. Perhaps one favourite that wasn't worth taking on, that was earlier today, Frankel scoring. Nigel, I just want to get your opinion on this because obviously you've been around the racing game an awfully long time. Just how good is Frankel? Is it the best horse that you've ever seen?
I think without doubt it's the best horse we've ever seen, certainly in my lifetime. I think the only trouble is I don't think the racing industry give it as much credit as it should do. I don't think they PR it in any way and put it out, because I think the majority of people in the street don't know who Frankel is. I think you ask them for a racehorse, they say Red Rum. The trouble with it today, it's running a race which was 20-1 on. There was only 4 runners. It could have won by at least 20 lengths, 15 lengths. It run by about 7, easing down. The horse is absolute quality and it's running out opposition. So the only thing they're going to do is retire it to stud because no one wants to race it. There's no obvious showdown for it to take on, which I think is disappointing. I mean, people go and watch it, but also people want to see the top athletes, the top horses and the top sports people in a genuine race. And there's nobody for it to beat. So the best thing to do, it will retire it will retire, go to stud and end unbeaten. But I just don't think the racing game has actually PR'd or marketed Frankel in the best way they should utilise it for British racing.
Certainly from a punter's point of view, absolutely fantastic horse at 1-20, scoring in the Sussex Stakes earlier today, absolutely unbeatable at the moment. One top-ranked side that certainly aren't beatable, England, because they could lose their world-ranked top spot to South Africa when it comes to the second test in the cricket. Joe Crilley of Hills with me in the studio. I mean, coming into this test series, I think most England supporters believe that England were going to comfortably beat the South Africans, and as we saw in that first test, it's been anything but, because the South Africans dominant and deserved winners. Yeah,
well, it was billed as the 2 best bowling attacks against each other, and unfortunately for England fans and for punters who really piled into England, only 1 bowling attack turned up, and that was, of course, that of South Africa. Now, I won't be getting too worried. I did predict at the start of the series that South Africa would win at least one of the tests. And at 4-9 to win the series now, I certainly won't be getting on that. But for the second test, we can barely split them. We've got the draw at 6-4, which is looking the most likely outcome. And then England and South Africa are both 2-1.
Interesting that it's at Headingley, and England in recent tests at Headingley haven't got the best of records. You mentioned that bowling attack. It seems to me that England have got that problem with the number 6 position, because obviously South Africa can play Jacques Kallis. He's a fantastic batsman and he's a top-class bowler as well. It's something we can't replicate, isn't it?
No, well, if you look all the way through the England batting order, there's quality all the way up to James Anderson, you could say, with the bat, but they just seem to falter at the big moments. They do well spanking the West Indies out of the ground, and although they didn't show it against Pakistan over there, they can beat the smaller teams, and that's how they've got to number 1. But these are the real tests that they need to be stepping up to the plate. And like you said, Jacques Kallis was fantastic in the last test, and let's just hope he has an off day.
Let's get the prices for the second test. The Butler, how do we bet?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I've been on here all the time, and I've been all the build-up for this week, I've been saying I fancy the draw, and there's nothing has changed my opinion of this whatsoever. I mean, the weather forecast, it looks like the weekend we're going to lose at least 1 day. People keep saying to me, oh, we can get that back in Test cricket. I know you can, but you can't when teams can get 500 easy. I mean, this South Africa side could bat 500 plus, no problem. England got 350 odd in the first test. They should have got a lot more. And both of these teams can bat, and they haven't got a bowling attack to take them out. England only took 2 wickets. Incredible. I mean, the thing is here, the draw's 6-4. This will go off short. There is no doubt in my mind that the draw will hit probably around about 11-10 come the start of the second test. We look at the stats. Only 3 of the last 39 matches at Headingley, test matches at Headingley, have been draws. So it doesn't look in your favour. And bookmakers love to take the money on the draw. It's the most popular backed event in a test match, and they keep on getting the money. This is payback time. This is when we go back to William Mills, we get all the time, we've done our money back, and we get piling into this draw at 6-4. I tell you what, this will be a draw, and I will make a very bold statement. No, actually I won't. This will be a draw. Get on the 6-4. The draw is a decent bat, because I think this will definitely go at least 11-10, sort of 5-4 shot come the start of the second test. And if we start getting a few rain clouds, which is fully predicted towards the end of this weekend, at the end of the weekend, I think this will definitely be an odds-on shot come sort of Friday, Saturday afternoon.
It's interesting, because there's many punters who play the draw, who trade the draw, and it does get short quickly, doesn't it? Odds compilers are quite content to cut the draw, whether there's runs coming on the board or, as Nigel explained, if we lose even half a session, a full session, suddenly the draw comes crashing inwards. It's the price that moves the most.
It certainly is. Unless, of course, the team who bats first ends up getting 500 by the end of the first day. And then, obviously, they'll be the best backed. But, yeah, more often than not, the draw is the best backed, and it is the most flexible, the most movable price of the three.
That's the second test between England and South Africa. I don't think that within the England team there's anybody that will be put up for Sports Personality of the Year. There's only one name that's been mentioned, and that's the name of Bradley Wiggins. And Joe, Hills have had to shorten up Bradley even further after today's exploit.
Yeah, once again, he was even money before the start of the race today. So you could have still got a bit of evens, but that gold medal, despite the fact he was odds on for the gold medal, has seen him go from even money to 1 to 7. So there's not a lot of value there. Jess Ennis, she's been the favourite since the last Sports Personality. We put the market out the next day. She's been favourite all the way through until Bradley Wiggins' heroics in the Tour de France, and obviously today as well. Interestingly enough, Mo Farah at 12 to 1, I think he's the one who can influence the market the most. He's doing 2 events. If he gets 2 golds, maybe gets a world record in one of the events, then I think he might be pushing a little bit. Bradley Wiggins, those odds will come in a little bit. But yeah, Wiggins, he looks unstoppable at the moment.
Butler, he's the short price favourite, Wiggins for Sports Personality of the Year. Is it like finding money in the street? Can he be beaten?
Well, I mean, at the moment, he can't be beaten if you look at what he recently. But the thing is, we have a reaction of looking at things. But you're talking, it's only 4 months. It's 4 months away. A lot can happen in sport, and I've seen these odds-on favourites get beat on the night. Things can happen. And the person I like the look of it, I think Tom Daley at around about 50 to 1. I think some bookmakers gone 50, 66 to 1. Tom Daley. I mean, if he does win gold this week, he's a 3 to 1 shot to win the gold medal. If he does win the gold medal, we know what's happened with his father. He has got, like most of these people, he has actually got a personality. And the thing is that he's got about his father, the abuse he's received on Twitter. I think he's a typical sort of character that the BBC would like to sort of have as their role model and their sports, get their biggest award of the year. I mean, I've seen odds-on favourites get beat on this so many times. I remember Zara Phillips winning it when the favourite of the night, I think the night was Frank Bruno. I think it was many years ago. Frank Bruno was about 10 to 1 on favourite when he won the heavyweight championship of the world. Never got it. I think Lewis Hamilton was favourite one year. Big odds on, got turned over. And I think what's happening now may not be the same in 4 months' time. I think it's going to come from an Olympian. I think Tom Daley is a perfect example. And Andy Murray, he's in with a chance of the Olympic gold. He's playing very, very well at Wimbledon. And some bookmakers are paid out already on this market. And I think it's a little bit of a brave move. I know he's 1 to 7. He is going to be on the back pages and the front pages and on every news channel tonight. But if GB Gold win as well, I mean, in the football, I don't think there's a long, long way to go here. And I think 1 to 7 is about the right price on William Hill. It is still a live market, and I think bookies have been a bit premature in paying out early. I think it could turn out to be a bit of a mistake because I think a lot can happen in 4 months.
Interesting, isn't it? Andy Murray there at 20 to 1, but Wiggins at 1 to 7. He could drift depending on what happens when it comes to the Olympics. Plenty of sporting action coming up over the next few days. I mean, any other markets, perhaps, Joe, that you want to touch on very briefly? Athletics, of course, next week.
Yeah, the athletics and the 100 metres final is going to be huge. Usain Bolt, he's not looked great of late. He was beaten in the Jamaican finals to Johan Blake, who's come in from 8 to 1 all the way into 6 to 4, I believe it is. So that's going to be huge. Obviously, the British athletes, Jess Ennis and Mo Farah as well, are going to be really well backed as well.
Be interesting to see what happens, doesn't it, when it comes to the athletics. Well, that's all we've got time for on this edition of The Punter. Many thanks to the Bet Butler and to Joe Crilly of William Hill. From me, it's good night, and we'll speak next time.
No, I never say you don't honour your bets. You've got to honour your bet. You know what I mean? I've had it on for a few minutes now. I'm getting quite used to it. I think it quite suits me. I didn't like it at first, but a bet's a bet, and you've got to do it. I'm getting quite used to this. That's the forfeit you've got to do. I don't know why I said it though. Me and my big mouth agreeing to that. I should never agree to it. But like I say, you've got to honour your bets, and this is the forfeit you've got to pay. So I might be doing that in a hurry though, boys. But Trev, well done. You got one on me there. 1-0 to you. We'll have one for you. Don't worry about when that triathlete gets beat. But a bet's a bet.
Butler.
Yep.
Team GB were impressive against Brazil. Obviously, they've tumbled in the fractions when it comes to actually winning the tournament. What are you going to do if they actually strike gold in this event?
I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to open my mouth at all anymore. I'm not going to make any forfeits. I just want them to do really, really well. And all those people who watched it yesterday, paid all that money, they saw a fantastic game of football. I'm not going to say anything. I mean, I still don't think they'll win it, but I'm not going to make any more forfeits. Enough's enough. I mean, you don't want to see these again, do you? Surely you don't want to see them again. No thanks. No more forfeits. But a bet's a bet, and you've got to do what you've got to do, haven't you?
Last thing, what size is it?
Oh, what I'll be telling. I mean, it's due in about 2 or 3 months. Yeah, I will say. I mean, it's on its way. I think it's a very flattering 14. But the only good thing I say, it's the missus's birthday next week, so I've already sorted out a present. So that's lovely. So that saves me a few quid. Lovely. That's the only good thing about it.
That's Nigel Seeley, the bet butler. What a fantastic sport. He struck the bet with Trevor yesterday, and true to his word, he will present maybe all of the show. We'll soon find out in a skirt. I'm pleased to say that Joe Creeley of William Hill is joining me in the studio. Joe, it has been a fantastic day for Team GB. As a
£5 to watch that. I don't know what the world's coming to.
But come on,
Olympic crazy,
I've got to stop you. I'm going to stop you there. This is outrageous. This is the Olympic Games. You're talking about women's club football. This is the Olympic Games, and this is the home nations.
Mate, the thing is, 75,000 people. It will be quite intimidating. It'll be housewives from Surbiton and under 12-year-olds. So I don't think it's going to be really worrying Brazil here at even money, who are the silver medalists in the last Olympic Games. I mean, Team GB 49-20, around about 5-2, that kind of price. If you write your fractions, these are obviously Unibet's prices. That's a decent price for Team GB. And if you think 75,000 people are going to have a bet on it, say everyone had a tenner, you've got liabilities on it. But as I say, the under 7s, under 8s aren't allowed to bet, so that rules out 76,950 of them. So I mean, you've got the Brazilians here at 47-20. I don't think a draw's a good result for either team. They've got to go and win it. GB have got to take the game to them, and that means for me, Brazil win the game. Even money. I think this is a great bet from Unibet here. A good price, even money. I tell you why they win it, because they play this kind of football all the time. They're used to the big crowds. They raise the game at the big occasion, and that is where this whole Olympics theme is going with Team GB. We aren't raising our game at the big occasions, and we can't look up the expectation. And tonight, in front of this kind of crowd, there's only one winner for me. Brazil here at even money show their true class, and that could turn out to be an absolute knocker of a bet, even money.
That was the rant from the butler. He fancied Brazil, didn't fancy Team GB at all, and then a personal and private wager was struck.
If GB beat Brazil, you ought to present tomorrow's punter wearing a skirt. Is that a bet?
Not a problem, mate. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. A bet's a bet. This is what you got to do.
Welcome along to the Punter, the show that keeps you up to date with all the betting markets across the sporting calendar. On today's show, we'll be taking a look forward to the 6th day of Olympic action at London 2012. We'll also talk Premier League football with all the latest prices. We'll be talking cricket as well, the second test between England and South Africa. We'll also squeeze in some horse racing from Goodwood. Fantastic day, Olympics-wise for Team GB, of course. Bradley Wiggins securing gold in the time trial. And for the women, the women's pairs at Eton Dorney also came first. Fantastic day for the girls when it comes to the rowing. When it came to the football last night in the women's tournament, it was also a fantastic night with Team GB getting the better of Brazil, something that our very own Bet Butler did not predict.
What do you make of this GB versus Brazil, Butler?
Well, you know what? I think it's going to be a really big game. I think it's a very important match. I disagree with you boys in the studio. I'll tell you why I think it is. I think the winners want to top the group because they avoid the reigning world champions, Japan. Because if you finish right up this group, you play the Japanese. If you win the group, you play one of the third-place teams. So I think it's a big game. The only thing I'm trying to think about is 75,000 people going there today. As we've seen about teams at GB, but they're already bringing the excuses out saying, oh, we're not used to the crowds, we're not used to the crowds. 75,000 people watching women's football. Has the world gone mental? I mean, if you look at the attendance for the FA Cup final here, the last FA Cup final, Birmingham against Chelsea, 8,723, and now 75,000 of you lunatics want to pay 50.
Steady boat. They've been together for a couple of years now. You've got a bit of power going through the middle with Rich and Pete Chambers, two brothers there, who will really steady the boat in the middle. They know each other really well, obviously, having grown up together, and a really good tempo set by Chris Bartley at the front as well. And we're 4-5 that they make it through. They won so convincingly in the first in their first race, and they eased to victory in the semi-final as well. So we can't see any other winners there.
I was going to say, is this a sort of bet you mentioned just slight odds on? By the time the action gets underway tomorrow morning, will we see that price shorten up, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a shade under evens at the moment, so it's still a really good price. And the fact that Australia are 4-1 second favourites, there's a big gap between GB and Australia there, and I can really see that price coming in quite a bit tomorrow.
Well, let's see if we can get some prices from the Bet Butler when it comes to the action from Eton Dorney. We will get some prices very shortly indeed. I think the Bet Butler's with us now. Nigel.
Yeah, I was just altering the skirt there. Sorry, boys. I was just making sure that it looks a bit fitting. I know you were coming to me. I wanted to get the old belt right. Anyway, I'll tell you what, I think you're absolutely right. I think there'll be a massive gamble on this GB team. I think the punters will go absolutely crazy for rowing. And it shows you as a nation what we are as a nation. The only sports we do well in, ones we're sitting down on our backsides. I mean, we win the rowing, we win the cycling. And I think the punters will come for this 4-5. You saw what happened today. The girls went from 1-3 into 1-6 favourites. I think that will be a similar trend tomorrow. There'll be money coming. This 4-5 of William Hills, I don't think that's going to last. Again, it gets to the point where, for me, I don't want to be anti-gridded. I don't want to be anti-patriotic. I want us to do really, really well. I genuinely do. But it becomes a price where you have to turn around and say, that's no value. And I think at 4-5, yeah, it looks a little bit tempting. But how short can they...
Alluded to before, we had Bradley Wiggins, of course, scoring odds on, admittedly, but also the women's pairs at Eton Dorney as well. Two short price favourites, but well-backed favourites.
Yeah, Wiggins 2-5. He's been well back since the Tour de France, really. He went off at 2-5, and the women's pair, they were 1-3 overnight. They were backed all the way into 1-6 before the race actually started. It
was a fantastic day for Team GB, but I think everyone had been predicting this because it's been a relatively slow start. But when you look at the medals and where they potentially were going to come from, I think we've probably only missed out on Mark Cavendish, haven't we, so far?
Yeah, that's right. Cavendish, he was the big odds-on shot before the Olympics started for this first week. And, I mean, he was unfortunate. Team GB have moaned about the fact that nobody else helped them out. But he didn't get to the line first. He missed out, and... but, I mean, in terms of GB athletes, a very good day today indeed.
Have punters been picking up on this? I mean, we talked about short prices, but Bradley Wiggins will have been popular, I guess. Less so the women's pair, or did you see plenty of money for them?
We did. After they won so emphatically in their heats, and they did so again in the semi-finals, they were incredibly well backed. Like I say, in from 1-3 all the way into 1-6 about an hour before the race actually started. So they were well backed. I mean, we weren't expecting rowing to be one of our big turnover sports, but traditionally it's one of our top sports at the Olympics, and so people have been really wading in with their patriotic punts.
Yeah, plenty of gold medals as well up for grabs on the sixth day when it comes to the action at Eton Dorney. We're going to rattle through one or two markets where we hope there's going to be some GB success. First of all, Joe, we've got the men's lightweight fours.
Yeah, an incredibly